David and Taco, they bring the heat. All about UFC, way more than a fantasy. Let's see who going toe to toe. Throw down on the mat, check the replay, run it back. We gotta check the stats. Hey, do this every day. We ain't come to play. This is sports talk, and we love talking MMA. Everything fantasy sports. Dopest show that I know. With Electric Dave and talented Mr. Taco. Let's go. Hey, G.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the talented Mr. Taco, coming to you with a little bonus morning DFS content. I got our boy, Papi Roi, joining us. What up, Papi? How you doing today, man?
What's up, broski? Yeah, feeling great, feeling better, but I'm not sure I'm not sure about you, but it's something that we'll definitely talk about later.
Yeah, like I'm not feeling so hot right now. And as we all know, I'm repping the Knicks. I'm out here in New York. We just had a tough loss versus these Hawks. I had a whole recap video that we did after it, so you can see the raw emotion that I had. That's on the channel. Feel free to check it out. It's on YouTube, it's on our Twitter, and it's on our Facebook. Make sure you give us a follow everywhere so we can help you anywhere. Papi, how you feeling about the games just right off the bat? Was there anything that really stood out to you in this weekend?
Well, there are several sort of upsets that happened this weekend. Probably I could count Atlanta over New York as one of those upsets. Definitely Memphis over Utah.
No, Mitchell, is that really an upset? If Mitchell played, I agree with you. They didn't have Donovan, and it was close.
Yeah, but Mike Conley played, Gobert played. I think without Mitchell, I do understand the differences, but I mean, you're the top team in the West, which is really brutal, and then you're the top team actually in the whole league. So I should expect a lot from you, despite playing without Donovan Mitchell, and you've been playing without him from quite some time. So this is go time, regardless if Donovan Mitchell is with or without them. I was expecting a lot from Utah. Probably this is something that that is different from the likes of maybe Los Angeles Lakers or maybe Philadelphia or Brooklyn Nets, wherein despite losing some of their players, there's still a very concrete team behind them. Compared to Utah, it's going to be really hard on a playoffs format if Donovan Mitchell won't play. But luckily for them, I think in the next game Donovan might play, but this time with some rust. So let's see what would happen, because they are professionals, and I do understand that. But playing for, like, I mean, resting for quite some time and then playing off the bat, which is something that which in return needs to be your like 100% performance.
I agree.
It's gonna be a tough one for Donovan Mitchell. I'm pretty excited about it. Let's see how would Utah Jazz pull this off. Well, like what I've said earlier, I'm really expecting a lot from them. It doesn't mean that I'm undermining Memphis, but I mean, come on. You have almost all of your players are nominated for something. You have Rudy Gobert, you have Jordan Clarkson, you have your coach Snyder. Your team is on top, so.
No, I definitely agree. But one thing I can call out is, man, did I see that boy Dylan Brooks was going to put in?
Yeah, I remember that.
I was the guy that was going to show up, and he showed up. So what we're going to do today for you guys, we're going to set up a FanDuel lineup for Monday's games. Okay, Monday's games right now include Miami versus Milwaukee, and they include Portland versus Denver. So we're talking about two of the most competitive series that we've seen so far. So these games are going to be good. The players are going to be hot, and we're going to have to figure out who's the best of the best to come out with the best points. Now, Papi, personally, how do you like to build your lineup? I'm personally someone, I like to find a couple of the value plays first, plug them in, and then see who I can get. I know a lot of other people like to go the reverse. They like to take their stars and see who they can fit underneath there. How do you prefer to build your lineup?
Uh, we do it the same. I also try to window shop first for value picks,
Mm-hmm.
especially with this type of DFS day wherein uh, it's just 4 teams, so it's gonna be easy for you to check out possible value picks here.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately for my uh, what they call this value pick before, I think the dragon will have more. I mean, he'll be not as cheap as before for sure because he he did bring in some goodies last time. So he's now 5,500. Well, I guess that's still decent, but
Yeah, to
um
me that's a solid play when you consider after that you're looking at maybe Anthony Simons as the next best. Compazzo, he's nice, but I don't trust him. If you look at he goes 27-10, he goes 20, 27, 37. I mean, he's put up good numbers, but in that game, I just wasn't liking the way he played. He did play 31 minutes. But he only had 8 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 block, 2 steals. I feel like his upside is kind of limited, but he does get a good amount of burn. So he's actually an interesting value play. But for only $100 more, I'm getting the Dragon. And let's face it, if the Miami is going to have a competitive series, Gordon Dragic is going to need to play a big role. And if we saw, just like you said, he's a clutch time performer. In his 34 minutes, he did put up 25 points. The difference between him and Campazzo is Campazzo gives you those assists and he gives you some of those rebounds that we're not seeing at a Dragon. But they're actually a lot closer than I thought, Campazzo and Dragon.
yeah, and another thing about considering Campazzo here, given that Denver lost the last time out, and
Mm-hmm.
then Portland was vocally preaching about we really let Jokic, go off because the game plan was to contain other team members to really,
Mm-hmm.
contribute. So with that said, it's going to be hard for me to really trust Campazzo get his usual stats here. It's gonna be a big challenge to the prime players.
Mm-hmm.
If I would really look at somebody from Denver, I will definitely look up Michael Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really play well last time. I think he's someone that is capable to really bring a very good game. So I'm not sure how much is MPJ now, but he's someone that I could also definitely check.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. Michael Porter Jr. is on absolute fire, and if we look at what he did, just in his last game, he had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks. He played 37 minutes. He's going to be on the floor. He is going to be the secondary scorer behind Jokic. And if they're going to run that philosophy of making anyone but Jokic beat you, Porter Jr. can shoot efficiently enough to do that. Now, in game one, he was not, shooting the three very well. And I do expect him to have a bounce back game. And at 7,600, I think his upside is too great to not play in this type of a setting. So far, I have 3 players in. I have the Dragon in, I have Porter in, and I have Nurkic in. I have Nurkic in because in this game, Portland versus Denver, he's going to have to be board dominant, and they're needing to score inside in order for this to be successful. And if you look here in his last couple of games versus Denver, he's gotten at least 40 points. So with him coming at 8,000, I like that versus taking a guy like Jokic, who I like, but like we said, they're going to force the ball out of Jokic's hands, which could really be causing his lineup to not look as good as it normally would. And I think that when you're paying, 10,700 for a player when you only have a cap of 60,000, getting that discount on Nurkic for someone that can put up almost the same, points in a one game, matchup between these two, I think that's great value. And I think it allows me to do, just like you said, get Michael Porter Jr., who we're all thinking is going to have, a big game where he's going to show up and show out. Now, so we have the center covered. Okay, boom. We have one point guard, we have one small forward, we have no power forward. So let's just look at the power forwards real quick, see who they have at this position that could really fill this lineup in. Um, Giannis plays power forward, but then if you look at it, it's a huge drop off in price because the next guy is Aaron Gordon, and you got Ariza, Covington, Porter. So this is a position that is a bit of a wasteland in FanDuel this week. I mean, Aaron Gordon, I don't really trust him in this game at all. I don't know how you feel about Aaron Gordon in this coming up game.
Yeah, I don't really trust him. You're actually looking to the player that I would really like, look very, very hard. It's gonna be Trevor Ariza.
Mm,
I really think that Jay Crowder was a big hole to fill for the Miami Heat.
mm-hmm,
They were playing their best season last year,
mm,
using Jay Crowder as the 3 and D guy,
mm,
and Trevor Ariza can do that.
mm,
As you can see, he can actually provide you some defensive goodies, at least give you the usual rebound. So
mm.
if I want to get, you know, uh, solid players in my lineup and I have to really catch some value picks, I'd probably check on Trevor Ariza for the PF position as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. He's 5,200, but since April 28th, we're looking at or 26th, we got 40, 16, 27, 35, 25, 20, 37, 21, 27, 23, 28. And in the game versus Milwaukee, he played 38 minutes. He was on the closing lineup or in the closing lineup for the Miami Heat, so he's getting burned. I think at that price, especially when we're looking at the power forward being such a position that doesn't have anyone there after Giannis, I think he has to be one of your two. I don't know who the other one is. I do kind of like Covington. I think Portis, the way this series is going, is not going to get good burn. He only got 16 minutes. He puts up respectable numbers when he does play because he can get you those rebounds and he can score while chipping in some defensive stats. But when we look at the last game, he only played 16 minutes. So in these cases, I'm really banking on him being able to be almost like a Robert Williams type, where in short minutes he'll get a lot of categories and a lot of stats and value. And I just don't know how much I trust that in this matchup with Miami when they're going with Trevor Ariza at the 4. So I'm not really trusting Bobby Portis. I'm going to leave the second power forward position to fill in once I see how much cap I have, because I would like to try to make a play for Giannis. But I
Yeah.
want to see what I could do at shooting guard first and see if I can snag some more values. So at shooting guard, so currently I have 33,000 left. I have 6,700 per player. If I want to get Giannis, who's at over 10,000, somehow I'm gonna need to shave a couple thousand off some of these guys. So I'm gonna need some real value guys here. Now, personally, Kendrick Nunn has been someone that I've been riding throughout the regular fantasy season. But in the playoffs, he only had 22 minutes in his last game. And if you look at some of these other games, he's getting 36, 33, 28 minutes. So with that minutes dippage, I don't know how much I can trust him. Okay. But it sets it up in a position where his cost is interesting. And another one for that is Austin Rivers, because just like you said, I don't know how much I trust Campazzo, but they've been putting Rivers in and they've been giving him a little bit of time to score. Now, in his last game, he had 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, no turnovers, and 33 minutes of play. So he did play for a decent amount of time. He did score a decent amount, but it's a sticky situation there in Denver because I just don't know what they want to do with their guard play now that you have Jamal Murray out. So it's a sticky situation. How do you feel about Austin Rivers?
To be honest, if I were to roll my dice, I'd probably roll my dice on Monte Morris, just because he's actually contributed in several games wherein Jokic was out, wherein Jamal Murray was out. So experience wise, I would rather trust him. Last game, he got 4 fouls, so probably in 21 minutes. So it's something that I was thinking that, if I really want to get some big guns in my lineup,
Mhm.
um, Monte Morris might be one of those, the roll the dice picks
Hmm.
that I'll take as an option. But I'm also looking at Anthony Simons. Think about him. We're in now in the playoffs. I'm not sure if they truly trust him. He usually gives us just points. There were instances in during regular season that he exploded, but those are situational cases. So I definitely couldn't trust him. Um, if I were to also update my forward position, I'm also looking at Paul Millsap here.
Hmm.
He's been like their go-to veteran presence. The thing about my hesitation on Paul Millsap, he just played 14 minutes last time, but he's capable to really explode. We've seen that last season, how he really helped and stepped up for the Denver Nuggets. So, just in case you're, you can't really get some value picks, he's one of the options. And then lastly, I'm not sure which one is cheaper. If it's Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson. Probably it's Tyler Hero because Duncan Robinson played better last time, and I really think that
It's
Duncan
actually
Robinson is very crucial for them.
it's actually Duncan Robinson who's the cheaper one. And to speak to that point, Tally Hero, if you look at his minutes, and we started to see this a little bit towards the end of the regular season when he came back, he was coming off the bench. None was getting the run over him, but 19, 35, 17, 19, 34. When he gets the minutes, he can put up points. But versus Milwaukee, he only had 19 minutes in that last game. Like you said, Duncan Robinson was one of the main focal points for them. Now, is it because he was hot, or is it because he's the guy with the better matchup? That's going to be yet to be determined because he was 7 of 10 from the field, 6 of 9 from three. While Duncan Robinson is good, 6 of 9 from three is fantastic. So it's going to be hard for him to replicate this performance. And as we see here, his minutes are pretty stable. I feel like he's getting the burn over Hero, but I don't know, man. It's tough to pick between one of those two because I feel like they alternate games. It's like one game one's hot, the next game the other one's hot, and they feed the hot hand. So it's a risk reward situation, you know, and it could definitely be rewarding. One guy that interests me but scares me at the same time is Carmelo Anthony because he he looks like he's locked in for about 20 to 24 minutes roughly. He's been hitting 21 in his last three games, and now it's versus Phoenix, Denver, and Denver. He can score you some baskets. He doesn't really chip in with the defense that much, but he can. In his last game, he went off and ended up putting 18 points to give him 26 total fantasy points for this game. But he's someone that interests me because he only costs 4,400. And looking at where we're at right now, I have 7,100. So far to the team, I have Dragic. I added Dante Di Vincenzo as a cheap point guard or shooting guard play. Reason why I added Dante was for the fact of when you look at his game log, he had 37 minutes in that game versus Miami. And while he may not be the best player for this price range, to get someone that's going to be on the floor that much is an opportunity that's really hard to pass up. And if you look at what he's done over his last couple of games, that 24-point scoring that he had was actually the lowest output that he had since May 4th. So I like Dante DiVincenzo in this game just based on the analytics that we're seeing here from him. So all right. So right now I have Nurkic. I got one at each position. So I have one point guard, one shooting guard, one small forward, and one power forward left. My budget's at 7,100 per player. I can pretty much either do a Giannis, I feel like, or I could do a Lillard, or I could sprinkle some guys in like Drew in them. So it's kind of like interesting to me now because if I go with Drew, I could probably get like two or three guys like Drew and then two value plays. If I go with Lillard, I'm going to go with Lillard and then a bunch of value plays. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this shakes out. Now, this is where you have to put on your salary cap hat and you got to just kind of go down and see what's going on and make the adjustments. Middleton at this price, see this is why this happens. I have to take Middleton at 7,800. I have to take Middleton. Middleton's going to be a focus of this team, right?
Yeah, definitely. And as you can see in the previous season and even in this season, um, he is actually attempting more compared to he used to. I think because he received a lot of criticism that he usually don't step up, especially when the Milwaukee Bucks needed some help. Last season, Yanis went down. He did help, but it's a different thing if you provide stats, and it's a different thing if you're emotionally leading the team. I guess that's one thing that the fans and even not only the Milwaukee Bucks fans, the NBA fans in general was expecting from Chris Middleton. So I think he should have some fire behind his game these playoffs. Um, Also, I'm not sure how much Brook Lopez is um, as a center, but um, I, I think this dude can actually provide you possible value given that there will be instances that
Mhm.
he blocks shots more than we expect.
Mm,
This season was his lowest performance season ever since he was like a first rounder, second rounder when he
mhm.
was back there in the New Jersey Nets. But I still think that spacing is very important in the Miami Milwaukee matchup, just because the likes of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, they usually love to play within the shaded lane. So with that said, it's gonna be very crucial for Duncan Robinson and maybe Tyler Hero to step up, creating that space. And for Milwaukee Bucks, aside from Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, it's gonna be Splash Mountain that they usually, ask a lot of snipes. Again, I would like to really emphasize that this wasn't the season that Brook Lopez was the splash mountain that we expected. To be honest, he wasn't shooting a lot of snipes this season. I'm not sure on how was that impacted by the acquisition of Bryn Forbes or probably um, Drew Holiday getting more shots as well. But again, we're talking about getting some value. We're talking about rolling the dice. So I just have to really um, bring Brook Lopez to the table just in case you wanted to adjust in the center position.
I feel like if I was gonna like, because right now here's how the lineup sits. I went with the Dragon, and then I went with Drew. The reason why I'm going with Drew is because I'm going more of the let's get value plays everywhere than load up on a superstar type lineup. So here we got Dragon and Drew. I think both of them are going to be big parts of this game. I think Dante, like we saw, he's going to get enough minutes for him to be maybe not the best, but at 5,300, that's going to be value. That's one of the cheaper guys that we have on the team. CJ McCollum, let's face it, see, it's the CJ and Dame show. So one goes off, the other one will wait, and then he'll go off. But CJ's been super solid. He's going to get at least 30 something points in this game. Michael Porter Jr., I mean, we already said it. This dude's a walking bucket. And if they're going to win, he's going to have to show up big time tonight. Chris Middleton, I mean, I think he's emerged himself as being, I want to say, their primary clutch shot maker. Like when it comes down to a clutch bucket, he's going to be the one that's probably going to be taking it because he has more range than Giannis and has better, um, I want to say ISO package in my opinion because Giannis just doesn't have enough of a shot for them to respect it. So they back up enough that it's hard for him to get to the lane. Trevor Ariza, we were mentioning it. He's getting good minutes. He's getting good burn. His production could be a little bit better, but I mean, we're talking about someone that's at 5,200, so he is one of the cheaper people in the lineup. Robert Covington is the cheapest person that we have in the lineup, and again, it's just because we're trying to make it work. And power forward is a wasteland. If you're not taking out Tacumpo, it's Gordon, it's Ariza, it's Covington, and it's Portis. So it's not really that fruitful here. So I have 600 left. And realistically, if I'm going to make a flip based on the way these positions are set up, it would be at center. Because if I do something like that, maybe I could push up and get a better player, maybe even upgrade Drew to Dame. So let's just see if I could do that. Because like as it is right now, Nurkic has been really solid. He's like a 40-point guy over his last couple of games. But like Papi's saying, um, Brook Lopez is no slouch. And Brook Lopez played 36 minutes. He got 30 points. He is a consistent scorer. And if I'm able to put him in my lineup and then upgrade to a Dame, I think that's a good upside. So I just want to see if we could do it. And if we can, maybe I'll make that happen. So let's just see. In Drew we trust. Hey, we can afford Dame time and still have 700 left.
Nice.
So now that's interesting. And then like Covington is the only guy that I look at, but like it's really hard to upgrade him. Dante, there is no other upgrade at shooting guard other than Dante. He is that dude. At least price wise. CJ's there, Porter's there, Middleton's there. Trevor Ariza, I think Trevor Ariza is like right there as well, right? You know, Aaron Gordon. Would I take Aaron Gordon over Trevor Ariza? Probably not. I think Trevor Ariza is a little better than him. Would I take Covington over Gordon? Maybe I might take Gordon, but I don't have enough money to make that happen. I only got 700. So it's interesting here. It's real interesting.
How about we try to upgrade Robert Covington to Giannis Antetokounmpo? Is Robert Covington play at PF or SF?
So let's see here. In order to do that, I have to pump this back down to a Drew, right? We got to keep it with the Brook. Now, the only problem with that is that I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 Milwaukee Bucks players. I think I'm only allowed to have 4 total Bucks players in my lineup. So I guess I would have to. So like,
Actually, I was thinking if we could retain Dame and get Giannis.
if we did that, we would have to cut Middleton and Porter probably.
Oh,
We only have
won't do that.
yeah, we only have like 400. So I think the biggest move that we could do is like if I put Brook in, and I kept Drew, there's still no way I can afford Giannis. And Giannis is that dominant power forward type. So I think this is where lineup construction gets a little bit dicey because it's like as much as I would love to have Giannis in here, I feel like at that position, even though it is the weakest, I can get enough value almost everywhere.
Because in these matchups, there are only 3 players that I'm expecting that could possibly really explode. It's gonna be Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if I would really get some solid, 60 points upside, I'm gonna choose between those 3. And if I'll further analyze, um, Milwaukee and Miami are a matchup that would probably be more on the defensive side compared to Portland and Denver because Portland is not known to be a good defender team, and Denver really is an offensive team over than a defensive team. So those are also some considerations that I probably check.
Yeah, like the only thing is, man, it is hard for me to try to get Giannis in here. Like, all right, so I'm plus 30 something. And no. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rock with Dame time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
guess
rock
yeah.
time. Yanni, you gotta go. We're gonna keep that boy Covey.
Yep.
And then at center, instead of doing Nurch, we'll go with that value play that we talked about here in Brookie. We still have 700 in the bank. I don't even know if I could spend that, even if I tried. I don't really think there's any place else we can upgrade just based on that lineup. And I think I agree with what you're saying here about the Denver Portland game is going to be more of an offensive game, where the Milwaukee Miami game is going to be more defensive. And for that reason, I definitely think that's why you see me having Lillard, McCollum, and Porter in that game. So I may not have the well, I have the number one, two, and three players not named Jokic on that floor. So in that game, I should be getting a lot of buckets. So that game's going to be, I think, super interesting for me, especially based on this lineup that I'm going to be setting up. So let's just run it down one last time for the people and just show them what we entered. Um, so we got Brooke Lopez starting at center. Got Robin Covington at power forward with Trevor Ariza. Got Middleton and Porter. This is where I'm expecting massive points. I'm expecting both these guys to go off. And then Di Vincenzo and McCollum, I expect Di Vincenzo to be solid, and I expect McCollum to go off. Then we got Lillard and Dragic, and honestly, I'm expecting both of them to go off. I mean, the Dragon's the Dragon for a reason, and hopefully he shows up and shows out in tonight's matchup. But, this is the lineup I'm rocking with today. If you guys have your lineups, drop them below. I'd love to discuss. I'd love to see the differences because everyone's going to come out with a different roster. Like Papi was saying, he would be gunning for a guy like Antetokounmpo, Lillard. He had mentioned Jokic. Those are pretty much the three top guys that we should be seeing tonight. And you definitely want to have or try to have at least one of them in there, unless you can get a full lineup full of killers that every single player is hitting, almost 40 points. Other than that, you're going to need that big gun in order to win it. My biggest question mark is Robert Covington. Can he have one of those, rare 30-point games just out of nowhere? Just a couple of, put back dunks, a couple of blocks. But, at 4,600, I needed him in order to make this roster construction work because he's the cheapest player I have on the team, and he does get enough minutes to justify him having a role,
Yeah, I agree. The Robert Covington, Dante Di Vincenzo, and Trevor Ariza is going to really make this team
Yeah.
a better team or probably break
Yes.
the points.
Because I feel like Dragic and Lopez, they're pretty safe. And DiVincenzo's pretty much a little safe. It's really going to be Ariza and Covington. Like that power forward position is where either I'm going to have a lot of problems or it's going to be really good because both of them combined still cost less than Lillard. You know what I mean? So it's like it's like that position right there is going to be where the bread gets buttered or like they say, they burn my grits. So I think that's going to be where the fun really happens. But Papi, I mean, I had a blast having you on. I definitely want to do some more of these, DFS lineup constructions for the people. So we'll definitely figure out, another time at least this week that we could do it. I love doing the games when doing the lineups when there's only two games going on because it does cut down the variables. So we're only looking at 4 teams to pick from. So it does make life a little bit easier, at least in my opinion, if you're playing DFS. Because if you're playing DFS and every single team in the league is playing, there's a lot more variables. There's a lot more random guys who can blow up and just all of a sudden score points. You're like, well, I didn't have him in my lineup. Well, yeah, because there's a million people to pick from. From here, it's a limited selection. And with the salary cap, I think it makes it competitive, it makes it fun, and it makes it winnable. I had a good run last season in the finals. I was posting my scores, and we're going to do something similar here in the playoffs as well, where you can see where my scores are, see where you agree and disagree. Because, hey, maybe at best, I show you how to win. Maybe at worst, I show you who not to pick, and you just pick everybody else, and you win your money. So either way, it's going to be good information. But Papi, do me a favor. Tell everybody where they could find you and just a little bit of what you do, your podcast. I was just on it recently. We had a great award show. So let the people know where they can find that as well, because it's definitely good content.
Yeah, so majority of my content is in my Facebook page at Fantasy Basketball PH. So majority of my contents are basically, well, during regular season, though I provide a lot of information regarding who to pick, possible odds or drops, possible trade candidates, and then during playoffs, I really did a daily show wherein we are talking about a lot of the players that in strategy wise, depending if you're playing a daily tomorrow or daily today, we usually consider those aspects. And then, like what Mr. Taco is doing here, we're currently trying to provide contents as well for DFS. And lastly, just to bring in some more value to you guys, especially to those who are watching and will watch later on. When you're trying to do DFS, definitely check the lines for odds. So for tomorrow, Milwaukee Bucks is gonna play with a minus 4.5 points, and usually you have to check the Vegas fluctuations on if the majority of the pubs are really banking on Miami to really push a lot of run depending on the current matchups, because if that's the case, in DFS, there's a big chance that you'll see a lot of Jimmy Butlers in their lineup. So if you really have a competitive league and you really want to really get some upside pick, you have to really pave a way to a lot of pubs pick. And like what I've said, the projected totals for Portland and Denver is 227 compared to Miami and Milwaukee is 222. So in terms of the facing, the stats that could be provided, Portland and Denver is somehow a better game compared to Milwaukee and Miami. The only difference here compared to our regular season is it's playoffs time. So teams are really leaning more on their main players. That's why Mr. Taco really emphasized how valuable the likes of Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jimmy Butler, and Damian Lillard will be for tomorrow's matchup. So yeah, that's it for me. Again, shout out to Fantasy Basketball PH.
Facts, man. And I definitely love having you on. Like, to be honest, it's just great conversation, and you're very well versed in your fantasy basketball knowledge, and I have to put that down as you're one of my favorite people to have on, because we can have, like I told you from the jump, I wanted to do this like 10 minutes. We're 37 minutes deep because we have that natural conversation about the players, about strategy, and about where we can get points from, who we see that's performing. And I just feel like that's super valuable information for the people that are watching, and even for ourselves, because guess what? We're making the plays. We can hit on a couple of DFSs and make some money. Give me money, as the Rum Boys Bogart was saying. So I like that moniker, and that's what we're doing here. But that is Papi Roi. I am the talented Mr. Taco. We are on the Daily Sporting. I appreciate everyone coming out and stopping by and hanging out with us. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to drop a comment on the video or send us a DM. We appreciate everyone. Hope you guys all stay safe, stay healthy, have a wonderful day, and enjoy the games. Peace.
Hey, David and Taco, they bring the heat. All about UFC, way more than a fantasy. Let's see who going toe to toe. Throw down on the mat, check the replay, run it back. We gotta check the stats. Hey, do this every day. We ain't come to play. This is sports talk, and we love talking MMA. Everything fantasy sports. Dopest show that I know. With Electric Dave and talented Mr. Taco. Let's go.